When Frank Herbert was asked about the reaction to Paul Atreides in his newly released book Dune, he was disappointed. What many saw as a great story of a savior from the outside world, Herbert saw as a great warning. He felt so strongly about this that his follow-up book, Dune Messiah, is a scathing look at leadership, religion, and power. It's a huge departure from the original book, and it can be a little uneven in its reading, but it has some really powerful ideas and themes and exposes something real about the characters. So with this knowledge of what is to come, Villeneuve has synthesized this complex story about politics, the white savior complex, religion, into a love story wrapped in a sci-fi war epic. Dune Part 2 is as colossal a film as you have ever seen, and yet it's focused enough to find your way through the sand. It is not a traditional sequel, as it works directly as an extension of Dune Part 1, following Paul, played by Timothée Chalamet, who may have just given his best performance yet, as he deals with the fallout of the massacre of his family and the prophecy that is set before him in the desert. Villeneuve takes a slow approach to the opening of his film, basking in the burnt orange atmosphere of Arrakis, allowing us, like Paul, to become more aware of the environment and its power. Through the lens of Greg Fraser, we see both the biblical scope and the human mind and heart, which is mostly seen through Zendaya's Chani. Chani becomes the figure of most of Villeneuve's changes, moving from docile follower in the book to full-on skeptic. What emerges is a delicate balance between a story of young love and a fear of fundamentalist worship of a false prophet, which is seen through the eyes of Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem, whose idea of Paul that began humorous slowly grows to be terrifying. Small moments between Paul and Chani are powerful and express a quiet love that has galactic consequences. These moments of human connection only raise the stakes of triumph and heartbreak between the two, a weight that we see on the face of Paul as he seemingly comes closer to the path that seems all too predetermined. The theology behind the Abrahamic religions is ever present in both Herbert and Villeneuve's Dune. While both are not anti-spiritual, I would actually argue the opposite, they are heavily distrustful of religious extremism, an extremism that you find in all major religions, that can use the plight and faith of the masses to manipulate and distort into power and violence. A topic that Villeneuve covered in one of his lesser-seen works, Incendies, which is a film that looks at a family that has been destroyed by the Lebanese Civil War. Honestly, Incendies feels more of a connection to Dune than any of his other science fiction works. In Dune, the manipulation is played through the second woman that is pulling at Paul, his mother, Jessica. Jessica's duty to the all-powerful Bene Gesserit exposes something dark and twisted in this game of power. The roots and the path that has been laid before Paul in all the major characters is made to feel unavoidable. We see and feel the generations of planning and manipulation that have led to this moment. A moment that is not built on certainty, but on pride. The pride to declare oneself the Messiah. What began as interpersonal turmoil boils over into intergalactic warfare. Only the IMAX screen can dare hold the scale of these battles, backed by another roaring score from Hans Zimmer, whose original score for the first part of the film has only grown on me. From the ride of the worms to the single combat of great fighters, these moments of violence are effective and precise. Each moment feels unique and calculated in the direction, using the environment and diversity to its advantage. It's in this environment that I see Villeneuve separates himself from his contemporaries. It's also why he's perfect for this story. I think of the black sun of Giedi Prime as it reveals a hellscape in which the camera switches to black and white film stock. We see how this planet has shaped young Fade Routha, played by Austin Butler, minus the Elvis accent, who works as a mirror to Paul, following in a similar story of fate and manipulation. But where Paul fights it, Fade desires it. The hedonistic planet serves as a chilling vision of what happens when a society is driven by pleasure and not the mind. This attitude works into the strange and impactful performance from Butler, who works as a great test for Paul. Other newcomers include Florence Pugh as the Emperor's historian and daughter, Princess Arulin, and the Emperor himself, Emperor Shaddam, played by Christopher Walken. While their scenes are good and help fill out the world that has to this point been quite binary. It feels like it's just on the outskirts of what is really central to the story that's taking place on Arrakis and Giedi Prime. The real standout actually comes from Lea Seydoux as Lady Margot, helping to establish the hand of the Bene Gesserit in the life of Fade, how they disguise their manipulation and secure bloodlines for their choosing and power. Though we see and learn so much information, Villeneuve never overwhelms us with needless dialogue. Instead, he relies on the strength of the visuals and the actors, and in particular Timothée Chalamet. Chalamet's performance is dynamic, as it moves to the rhythm of the internal struggle he faces. The pull of his love for Chani and the desire for revenge and power shows him move from tender to terrifying. Much like Paul himself, the role feels perfectly designed for Chalamet, and may be the role that attaches to him for decades to come. Villeneuve concludes the film similar to the book, climactic yet open-ended, beckoning to tell more of the story, which I'm sure will come by way of Dune Messiah in a year or two. But what we do have right now is a complex and dynamic film. A story of loss and power, love and manipulation. A film that reminds us to fear the Messiah. I think that this is a movie that will certainly be on my mind and many others for the coming months. Yeah, so right now I'm feeling a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I will certainly be rewatching it soon whenever it releases to the public. Yeah, just a phenomenal science fiction work. Certainly competes up there with some of the best that Villeneuve has made yet. I'm very excited for the rewatch. Phenomenal film. And the two films that I would pair up with this movie is, of course, Dune Part 1. No explanation there. But the other one is Denis Villeneuve's Incendies, which is a movie that he made in 2010. It's a film about just the devastating nature of religious extremism and the wars that it causes. It is a phenomenal film. It's strange. I think that film is more focused on that idea, but I actually do think that Dune Part 2 is a better expression of what he's talking about in Incendies. But I think that they work really well as a pair. But yeah, just a really exciting way to get the year started off. I feel like it's been really slow. I've just honestly been catching up on last year's movies at this point. I think Villeneuve has proven that he's the best science fiction director working today. His understanding of the large scale of science fiction, but yet the humanity at the center of it is just, it's phenomenal. He is the best at it right now. And I really hope that he continues to do this story, because I think what's so awesome about the Dune saga, which I have right here, reading or reread it before the movie. What's so phenomenal about the saga is it continues to progress in strange and fascinating ways. I would be very interested to see someone try and, do God Emperor Dune or something like that, because it just gets more and more strange and powerful, in my opinion. And thank you all so much for watching the video, and I hope you all have a great day.